or issues has the council handled poorly? And we'll start with Mr. Williamson.
I don't know, I don't want to say anything specific. I think what we're doing poorly as a council is communicating with each other. That's got to stop. Working together with the Board of Education, that's got to be better. The Board of Ed has 6 buildings. For us to not have had a joint meeting with the Board of Ed over the last 2 years, I think is a mistake. That's got to be an open line of communication. I think that's got to change immediately. That's our biggest dollar. That's our biggest driver for what our property values are. So the more we can enhance our facilities, I mean, everybody knows, you're going to get, when you move to Verona, you're going to get good schools. You're going to get your garbage picked up. You're going to call 911. Verona Police Department's going to show up. Rescue squad's going to be right behind you. What people want to know next is where my kid's going to play. And the facilities is what we're lacking in this town. So that's something we just got to step it up. And the better we make our facilities, the higher our property values are going to go.
Mr. Roman?
I think the budget process could be handled a lot better. The way that we look at our budget is that what's put in front of the council is the end-all, be-all of what the budget is. There may be one chance for a little bit of a revision at the end where we say, no, we actually don't want to have this much of a tax cycle. We want to bring the levy down by this little amount. And we get one revision on it, and that's that. We either vote on it or we don't. To me, the budget is a very fluid document. I think that we start with what the manager puts in front of us, and then the town council really does need to be making a lot of decisions and needs to actually understand where every line item in there is coming from and needs to be confident in their approval of every single line item as necessary, reasonable, and prudent. I think that this year we actually took a step backwards in transparency. If you look at the budget book that we as citizens were able to get, they took all of the department level detail sheets out of the budget book. We talk about openness and transparency in government and how we're supposed to improve it, and it feels like we're actually sliding backwards. We're sitting there in the back of the room trying to go through a budget while they're discussing line items, and we don't have copies of the sheets, and that's the first year that I remember where it's been done that way. I would like for this process to substantially improve. Again, I think the council members need to ask a lot more questions than they do. I think that they really do need to get deeply into the operations of these departments, and they need to figure out, again, from the ground up, how do we accomplish what we're trying to do here? What service levels do we want to achieve? What metrics do we have? How do we want to measure our performance as a town? Is it police response time? Is it response to a citizen concern about a public works issue? Is it, any of these things we can measure and say, what do we actually need to get there? And then we can really back up what our budget request is and be able to justify to the taxpayer why we're looking for what we're looking for, or realize where we can reallocate resources if we don't need them in a certain place anymore. Thank you.
Mr. Sapienza?
The item I feel is the IT problem that we had, and it's still ongoing. I feel that I'm not happy the way it moved forward. I'm not happy the way it's still sitting out there and not completely solved. I was the one that asked for a town-wide investigation from with the town attorney to make sure we went forward and make sure that we get the answers. And still, I'm not happy and convinced that that's something that it's not at the place where it is now, where it should be. We have to get to the bottom of that. I think that's one of the major blunders, and I'm not very happy about. And for those that are not aware of, we had a little situation with the police department as far as IT, and I was also the one that got in contact with the company that handles the IT portion for police, and made sure the town manager spoke to that guy right away, the owner of the company, and made sure it moved forward and made sure it was there to protect and allow the police officers to have what they needed to do the job correctly. I also think that where we stand with our radio systems, our police radio systems and our radio systems for the rest of the employees in town, I think we need to get a better communication system in place than what we have. I think that's something that needs to be changed. And as far as Alex is talking about the budget book, when I walked in, just prior to me walking in, I was not happy with the way that change was as well. And I required that it got changed, and we got back everything that we had. And for the public, they were able to get what they needed to be able to see. So that's a couple of my items.
Thank you, Mr. Malcolmson.
There are three things that I'd like to touch on where I'm disappointed on how things were handled. I'll sum it up with the IT issue, but let me touch first on the Board of Ed. When I joined the council, we had a Board of Ed council meeting in the Verona Community Center. It was all board members and all council members having an open dialogue, and I thought that would continue, and it never did. We had one meeting in the 4 years I've been on the council, and I think we're delinquent in our responsibilities to dialogue and meet with the Board of Ed. I would like to meet with them on a quarterly basis. I know we have Board of Ed members in the audience tonight, and I'm friendly with the Board of Ed members, but if you can't get together with your other committees in town, you can't make any progress. So you should meet quarterly. It's easy to do, and it's shameful we haven't. Second of all, one issue that I really differ with the rest of the council is with the clerk's hiring. That was a clerk who is capable, but with no experience. It was predetermined. The clerk was hired and then given a 30% salary increase with no experience, no on-the-job training, and really at the expense of the taxpayers. Completely shameful. Finally, the IT issue. Kevin Ryan, Councilman Ryan, and myself stood strong and stood tall with the police department publicly in support of them when they filed a complaint. 6 years of interference. 6 years of interference in their department is inexcusable. And ultimately, the town came up with an agreement, never challenging a single complaint. Every complaint, every issue that the PBA put forth to the council was true and accurate. Councilman Ryan and I stood side by side with them. But the shame is, it was 3 versus 2. We were in the minority, and it's still dragging on. There were no penalties. There were no repercussions. There were no one took responsibility. And in fact, those involved got raises, which was really quite disturbing.
Thank you.
Councilman Ryan and myself. Thank you.
Okay, question number 9. Should the governing body have a